Good evening, Lake Worth Beach. May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? Would everyone please take their seats as the mayor is on her way in? Everyone, please take your seats if you would. Can we make a clear entryway by the door so the mayor can come in? Thank you.
What the hell? Yeah, is this the bride and the groom? I thought we were going to sit in how we sit at the dais.
What's that? Yeah, let's mix it up. You already got a spot, so I'll sit right here. And I'll be able to hear it.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Order. Arms. Right. Haste. Forward. March.
Worth High School Drumline and the Lake Worth High School Honor Guard. Thank you. That's a hard act to follow. I cannot say enough about Dr. Tiffany Cox, our band director. She started 6 years ago with 9 kids in the band. She's up to over 125 kids. I cry when I think about it. 125 kids. And they're being now invited to state competitions. It's amazing. What our Lake Worth High School is a gem that we need to preserve. And I thank Dr. Cox for always being ready to help us with exciting drum lines. Welcome. This is a little daunting. I want to thank you all for being here tonight, for taking out the time to come in, and hopefully I won't bore you too much. I want to introduce us. We have some dignitaries here, and I'm not exactly sure. I haven't had time to know who is here, but I'm going to call out the names of the folks that have RSVP'd to see if they are here. From the city of Boynton Beach, Mayor Ty Pensagera. Are you here? There you go. And with him is Gabrielle Favita and Laura Landsberg from Boynton Beach. There they are. From Congressman Lois Frankel's office, Felicia Goldstein, District Chief. Felicia, thank you. From Palm Beach State College, Barbara Cipriano, who's the Provost and Dean of the Lake Worth campus. There she is. Reginald Durandis, For the Children founder. Reggie, are you here? Reverend Sonia McIntosh. All right. Juan Pagan, the president of the Florida Hispanic American Chamber of Commerce. Juan, hi, hola. Javante Edmonds, the state representative, District 88. Give him a shout out. Travis Ballard, District Aide from District 88. Oops. From Bridges at Highland, Miriam Maldonado, the Community Partners of South Florida. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your music from before. Thank you. From Community Partners of South Florida, Milagros Toro. From Paths to College, Christine Sylvain. There she is, way back there. From the city of Westlake, Pilar Valeron. Jamie Lee Bradshaw, the Chief Strategy Officer of the Community Partners of South Florida. There she is. Michael Barnett, our new County Commissioner. There he is. Niels, did you, Greg Weiss is Greg Weiss, there he is, Niels, hi, thank you very much. He's from Commissioner Greg Weiss's office, and we thank you all for being here. This city, we don't work in a vacuum. We work with partners, with other municipalities, with the county, state, and at the federal level. And we all cooperate to make Lake Worth Beach a better place to live. And I want to we always come to you for help, and I want to thank you in advance for the help that you will bring our town. We have an amazing staff here, and I want to introduce you to some of them. Carmen Davis, please stand up. We had the great insight and intelligence last year, right? Good. To hire Miss Davis. And she is working out so beautifully. She is connected with our community, with the other dignitaries, with the other groups in the area, and we love her, and we're so proud and happy to have her. Thank you so much. And no secret, we ain't easy. From Leisure Services, we have Lauren Bennett. Wave or something when I call your name so we can tell. It's a big. From Community Sustainability, we have William Waters, our department heads. Public Works, Mr. Jamie Brown. Whoa! Our electric utility, Mr. Ed Liberty. The man that keeps the lights on. Our water utility chief, Brian Shields. Our invaluable clerk, Melissa Coyne. She's the one that keeps us in line, and when we say, what did we do last May 13th at 5 o'clock? She'll say, this is what you did. Human Resources, Laura Sladen. Nellie Peralta, our information technology person. The CRA, Joan Oliva. Where are you, Joan? There she is. Now I want to take great pleasure in introducing you, as though you don't know them already, to the commissioners that I work with so closely and so well and with such really interesting combination of 5 people, all with the same goal of making our place a better place, our town a better place to live. Sarah Malega, District 1. From District 2, Vice Mayor Chris McVoy. From District 3, Kim Stokes. And last but not least, from District 4, our own Ronaldo Diaz. Thank you. Really, we're an interesting group. We have 2 very environmental scientists. We have an education person. We have a Lake Worth downtown small business leader. So we have it's really an interesting group. And we try to work together as much as we can with respect and dignity, even when we don't agree. I've been asked to say a little bit about myself. And first of all, I want to thank everyone for those of you that supported us in the election. And we hope that we are carrying forth. I was born in Brooklyn. I was raised in northern New Jersey. I came to Lake Worth Beach the first time in December of 1967 to visit my grandmother, who had just bought the tiniest house in Lake Worth at 202 Southeast Street. Fell in love, came back over and over, and finally in 1979, after working in Vermont and New Jersey as a social worker, came down to Vermont, ran a group home for runaway teenagers, worked for HRS as a caseworker, worked as a sexual assault counselor for the county of Palm Beach, working directly with the rape victims at the time of the crime. It was an amazing and wonderful job. From that, I started going to court. When somebody got arrested, I followed them through the court system, and I watched the lawyers and the judges, and I said to myself, I think I could do that. And I did. So I went off to law school, came back, and in 1988, I came back from law school and started working with the Palm Beach County State Attorney's Office, prosecuting crimes where children were the victims. I did that for 5 years. Then I was enlisted to become the city attorney of Lake Worth Beach. Lake Worth at that time. A wonderful job, loved it. Did that for 5 years. Left. And had no idea what I was going to do. I rented an office. I bought a desk and a phone. And I'm still in that building today on Lake Avenue 23 years later. I learned family law, and I was the town attorney for Lake Park for 3 years, so it was a good transition. I am proud to be an emeritus member of the American Inns of Court, which is a part of the International Legal Honor Society, and I'm very proud and gratified to be a member of the United States Supreme Court Bar. So I had the privilege, the day that I was sworn into the bar, I mean, it's a very small courtroom, and you're right looking at them. The day that I was sworn in was the morning that they argued the same-sex marriage case. So it was like watching history be made. It was fascinating. I'm also very proud of my family. When Grammy moved here in 1965, we kind of followed her down here, my mom and stepdad, and then my sister, and then me, my sister, my brother. My sister still lives on South J Street, Barbara, many of you know her. She raised her son Evan on South J Street, who went off to college and came back, and now he works as a teacher for Adopt a Family. and he's an expectant father, so we're all very excited. And my brother, John, who now lives in Tennessee, was for quite a while here, lived in Lake Worth on South Pomeroy, and was a member of the Palm Beach County Fire Rescue Office 91, right here in Lake Worth. So he lived and worked in Lake Worth, and we're very proud of that. I'm asked often, why did I want to be mayor? And my answer really is, the love and belief that I have in this city is very strong. And I think I've made that, over the years. I've been here so long. And here's the deal. I was at a time in my life where I could take the time, and I'll talk a little bit about this later, where I could take the time and the energy to actually be able to serve. And I am blessed. I have to shout out to my wonderful husband, Lou Bristol, who's home watching. He's my silent partner, and I am very deeply grateful for the support and love that he gives me, because without what he does for me, I couldn't do all this. So a couple of years ago, there were just some things going on, and I thought to myself, well, now I love the city, and now's my time to step up and try to serve. And I was very deeply gratified and grateful when I was elected. It's not easy to be a mayor, but it is a joy to work with the commission, with the staff, and our neighbors to make changes for the better for our neighbors and our town. It's really exciting. It's exciting to be a part of it. As a small town, we can address the small life issues, the quality of life issues. We can respond to residents' problems, issues, and ideas. Some great ideas come from our residents and from our neighbors, and it's only with the help and the cooperation of our staff and the commission that we can achieve things. I use the word together a lot when I talk about Lake Worth, because together with the commission, the staff, and I'm so impressed by the staff that we have, and the citizens, we have a very active group of citizens, which is wonderful, we work together to do. We have people in the audience, people in the town that do amazing things for our city. Just look at the neighborhood associations and the different events that they have. During the year, the things that happen in the city, the Gay Pride Parade. Look back at our community food drives during the pandemic. People came out and helped and served food. During the pandemic, it was easy to see how quickly this town formed to help others. What a unified, solid group that we are. And together, I'm going to list our accomplishments a little bit. We've been a busy little commission in 2 years. I'm told by our city attorney that we have more meetings than any other town that he is aware of, and he represents 12 towns. Is that a good thing? I don't know if that's a good thing or not. One thing we did do is we created a rule recently that our meetings can't go beyond 11 o'clock at night, because nothing good happens after 11 o'clock at night. I remember years ago when we would go into the early morning hours, and nothing got done. That was good. We created Kim is an educator, and through her guidance, we created the Education Task Force. How that works, it's a large group, and they have split up to each, 2 or 3 people take one of our schools. We have 4 elementary schools, a middle school, and a high school in Lake Worth. So a group of them is attached to each school. And things came out of that, we had a call at Christmas. There were 15 families from South Grade Elementary that really had nothing. So one of our citizens who was connected with that school and the Education Task Force called the neighbors and said, we need help, and 15 Christmas dinners were warmed up by our citizens, purchased and warmed up and delivered to those families. And I did one of them myself, and I got to tell you, it was on Christmas Day, or Christmas Eve, and it was a wonderful experience. And whatever little bit you can help, you can't fix everything, but a little kindness. It's like that story. There's a starfish on the sand, and you throw the starfish in, and the guy says, it's just one starfish here, but that's that starfish lives. So the little bit that we can do is very helpful. These kids, our kids, you saw the kids tonight, our grammar schools, our middle school, our high school. These kids are the future of our city, our future business owners, the future government. This commission has made an effort to help make those students feel more welcome and included in our town. From that group, from the Education Task Force, and from the city's increased attention to our students, neighborhood associations, contributions and individual efforts have happened. For example, the Christmas dinners, the football team needed a dinner one night, and a few people chipped in, and we all served the football team dinner. Basketball team has needed some help. And for example, the Lake Worth Middle School, one of the neighborhood associations put together a drive to give the girls feminine and personal products because they didn't have the money to buy them themselves. That's the kind of neighborhood we are. That's the city that we are. We made board memberships more accessible and transparent. We now have a vote in public about who's going to be on the, it's not just a political assignment, you know, you did this, it's a group effort. We started that. We enacted an ordinance which requires a public meeting in the neighborhoods with the developers to get input from the neighbors before a development is presented to the staff or to the boards. Really important. We have a couple big projects that have gone up, and there was a complaint from some of the neighbors about nobody talked to us. So we realized that's a problem. So now it's a rule. You have to have a neighborhood meeting with the affected parties before you can submit anything to the boards to be done. Tenants, we have a huge rental population in Lake Worth, and historically and unfortunately, the history of some of those landlords, bless their hearts, is not great. We have some great landlords. I try to be one of them. But we have a lot of landlords that really live in Chicago, live out of town, they're corporations. It's not a person that owns a building anymore. So we enacted, to protect the tenants, we enacted an ordinance requiring 24/7 that someone, a representative from the owner, be available within 1 hour of a complaint to address that complaint. And if it's not an emergency, you know, however that works, but you've got to have somebody listed with the city that will answer the phone and go there or make a phone call and address it. Because tenants, I've had many people tell me, you know, my hot water heater broke and I couldn't call the LLC in Omaha. So that was helpful, we thought. We opened land development regulations to allow for more affordable housing. We enacted an ordinance which requires landlords to give 90 days for, if it's not an eviction for lack of payment, but if they just want to change tenants, 90 days notice instead of the 2 weeks notice. That this 2 weeks notice. If you have a month-to-month lease and you could be living in that house for 12 years, the landlord by statute only has to give you 2 weeks notice to move. Now, at some point in time, that wasn't such a big deal. I remember when there were plenty of apartments, you could always move around. But not that. It's not happening now. And we thought one more level of protection for those folks who are vulnerable. We banned smoking in all the parks and the beaches, with the exception from the legislature of cigars. I don't know. They had a really good lobby, apparently. Snook Islands. You all know Snook Islands out in the Intracoastal. Amazing addition to our Intracoastal. Amazing addition to our environmental health and just the beauty that it brings. And I'm told by the bird people, Gail Silverblatt, thank you, lots of other people, that the oyster catcher, which is a bird, that was gone, and it is now nesting regularly at Snook Islands. And one of the things that was happening was people would fly their drones over, and as the drones came close to during the nesting period, the birds would see that as a threat and fly up and attack them, and sometimes abandon them. It was a mess. So we responded to that and have an ordinance now that you can't launch a drone on any city property on the water. We can't control the skies, but we can control where they come from. We created a business advisory board, which is still under construction because there's a voice from the downtown businesses about we need a voice. We need an organized voice. So we're working right now on sort of how, you know, who's going to be on that board, how do we assemble it, and that sort of thing. We made Lake Worth Beach an employer of choice. We raised the minimum wage to $15 an hour. We made sure that all employees received the raises that they had earned. And we ratified the fair contracts that our unions sought to put in place. We helped develop the city for visitors and residents. We approved multiple projects. We brought and cleared the way for new businesses to thrive in downtown as much as we can. Again, private versus public. It's not always easy. We do the best we can. And we cleared this commission famously cleared the hurdles for the Gulfstream Hotel to go forward. Right in this very room. We invested in improving in infrastructure. Infrastructure is a big problem. This city is 100 years old, and a lot of the pipes are that old. They sometimes still find wooden pipes under the ground, wooden water pipes. We have invested in our electric utility. It has received the investments we desperately needed to allow it to stop treading water and advance from a liability to an asset. I don't know how many of you people know this, but if you've noticed, and I hope you have, that our outages are much less than they used to be. We have hardened Ed Liberty and his crew and the city manager have hardened the structures, hardened the system to make it more vulnerable, to make it less vulnerable to storms and iguanas. Who knew that was going to be a problem someday, right? Our water utility has the funding it needed to upgrade and maintain our system, providing some of the highest quality water, turn the page, drinking water the county has to all of our residents. We have the what do we have?
Reverse osmosis.
Reverse osmosis. I love my commission. Reverse osmosis plant, which provides us with great water. And we've worked with staff to maintain our excellent credit rating. The credit rating of this city is better than it's been in a really long time. We just got it raised up. So that improves our bonding ability. That improves just the general. Everybody needs a good credit rating. And together, our staff have adapted to the new normal. When we came in 2 years ago, time flies when you're having fun, we had a changeover of city manager. And Carmen didn't come to us until much later that year. We were still in the throes of the pandemic. There were a lot of outages from the staff. We walked into, it's an interesting experience being sworn in and walking into City Hall, and now you're the commission. I was at a neighborhood meeting the other day. It was interesting because we were talking about some of the issues in that neighborhood, and we like, how do you solve this problem? And if you say, okay, well, we'll do this, but then what about that? But then you do this, but what about that? I said, welcome to being mayor. There are things and the other thing about being working with the government, the movement is glacial. Those of you that know the flea market, as an example, the flea market under 95 has been there for 100 years, a long time. Well, I don't know how it happened, but a few years ago, someone got the idea that it would be better for somebody to move them out from that wonderful shaded, protected area and make them stand in the parking lots of Lake Worth High School under little white pop-up tents. It didn't work. It wasn't friendly. It wasn't good. One of the first things I did was to meet with the school board and the principal from Lake Worth High and say, what can we do about this flea market? This just don't make no sense. It took a year and a half to get those people moved 300 feet back to 95. It's happened. It just happened a couple months ago. We finally were successful. But Carmen would get letters from the Department of Transportation. What is your opinion on the zoning of the under 95? And we write, we have no interest. It's not our jurisdiction. Please leave us alone. Do what we want. Please help us, right? 2 months later, from the DOT, what is your position on the? We're like, we told you already. So that's frustrating. When you're used to the private practice and your own private business, you can do what you want to do. Not so much with the government. We'll run into Carmen's office and go, I've got a great idea. It's like Little Rascals. Let's have a play and put it on in the garage, right? But she brings us back to reality and says, well, first we have to do this. So we learn process. When the world was sent home with the pandemic, which we're still in the we're still dealing with some of that, the world stopped. Really, March of 2020, the world stopped. But our staff stepped up in the emergencies that they faced. They kept this city running. COVID ran rampant through the employees. There were times where one of the departments would be down 3 or 4 people at a time. But not only did they get us through COVID, as that time, they were learning new things about how to run the city. So they, hopefully now coming out the end of it, hopefully, it's improved. The way the staff has worked, the way the people work together has improved. So hopefully that's a good thing that came out of it. Let's talk about the staff. The city clerk. I kid about the city clerk. But really it's the person that keeps us in compliance. When we pass an ordinance, she makes sure it's signed, she makes sure it's sent up to Municode to get registered. It's very important, and that's the thing about being staff. People don't see what you're doing. You're down in we keep them down in the basement. Dungeon, okay, that's how they really feel about it. But we can't do without them. It's a certified position. They seamlessly transitioned. Our old city clerk had retired, and Melissa Coyne stepped in and seamlessly transitioned to train new people, and we're very, very lucky to have all of them. Since in the past 2 years, they have overseen more than 50 city commission meetings. Could you be more boring? But they sit and they take the notes, and they make sure that the actions that we talk about are done. And they successfully ran 2 municipal elections. Congratulations. The Department of Community Sustainability. We were the first municipality in the entire county to go completely online for all applications. Building permits, building, planning, zoning, preservation, and business license. And when we were the first one, so when we did that, other cities have contacted Mr. Waters and said, how do you do that? It's a great idea. So we try to be innovative. Thank you, Mr. Waters. The department worked with developers to bring over 1,160 new housing units to the city. They improved the city's floodplain assessment by FEMA to such an extent that the city went up a whole level, which means that there's a 20% discount to residents in that for flood insurance in those areas. So thank you again. Hold your applause to the end. They have collaborated with multi-entities to create a formal Lake Worth Beach affordable workforce housing program. Everyone's heard about the terrible housing shortage, the housing crisis that the city and the state and the country is in right now. Between the CRA and community sustainability and our community partners, we're working to address, we're not a social service agency, we're a municipal corporation that needs to be fiscally responsible, but we can do what we can do to help those who need some help. We prepared, no, we didn't. They prepared a land development regulation amendment that requires all new buildings to achieve a minimum of green performance, and this program is the only one of its kind in the state. Our electric utility made over 36% of energy generation carbon-free and remain on track to become 100% carbon-free energy generation. And in a few years, we're going to be, I think, 51% clean energy. I've heard that from Mr. Liberty. He's shaking his head yes? Yeah, he's shaking his head yes. Great. They've undertaken, I try not to make mistakes, they've undertaken $100 million of system hardening and reliability improvement projects, which are already having positive results, meaning customers' power outages don't happen as awful, and the system is more stable. And it's better to have, for the future, when hurricanes come, will be stronger than in the past. He's also working, and thank goodness he is, we have essentially one, and this is the way I'm a simple person, we have one extension cord to FP&L. So if somebody cuts it, we're done. He's made it and worked with FP&L on the Florida Municipal Power Association to have a second tie line brought in so that we won't be, as he says, an island if the one goes. We've got a spare. So that's going in the next couple, they're working on that now. It's going to be done in the next couple of years. In 2017, Lake Worth Electric Utility was ranked 24th in the state for residential electric costs. In September of 22, Lake Worth Electric had improved the cost for customers so much that we were now ranked number 6th in the state. Our finance department, another invisible department. In a combined effort between the finance department and the electric and water utilities, the department oversaw the issuance of $43,765,000 in utility revenue bonds to enhance, strengthen, and make more resilient the city's utility infrastructure. As part of the improving the city's operational processes, the finance department has also focused on automated solutions. Among the recent implementations are automatic data processing for payroll processing and transitioning the city's banking services from the Bank of America to JPM Chase, who will give us a better deal. So again, invisible things you don't think about, but they're doing this to help us behind the scenes. Human resources. They successfully bargained with all 3 unions, the PEU, the PMSA, and the IBEW, with all 3 unions agreeing to 3-year contracts through 2024. And they successfully conducted LGBTQ active shooter reasonable suspicion, ethics, harassment, and diversity training for all employees. Thank you very much. We have an internal auditor, and essentially William sits up in the top floor of the old of City Hall where nobody else goes. And he looks, I'm fascinated by his job because I'm terrified of numbers in boxes. That's just not how my brain works. And there he is, he's in the back, thank you. We let him out. And he keeps track of how are the processes that the city is supposed to follow being followed. He keeps us out of trouble. And sometimes he comes down, and we're always glad to see him, and he tells us how we're doing. So thank you, William. Our IT department, they have completed multiple projects related to the city's IT network infrastructure, cybersecurity improvement, remote workforce, and telephonic system. When COVID hit, everybody went home, but they were able to bring their computers and their laptops and work from home. And it was the IT department that made that possible. Is Nellie here? There she is. Hi. And she's upgraded and gotten new software implementation to protect the city from threats. I went to a thing last night that talked about cybersecurity, and it's so scary. We don't want to be held ransom by somebody, and Nellie's going to protect us from that. I have faith. Leisure services. Woo! Here's where it gets fun. Leisure Services has won 12 awards at the Florida Festival and Events Association, including 4 first places, 5 second places, and 3 third places. And I hear they're working on those third places to get them up. They successfully brought back, after COVID again, 10 events following COVID, including taking over the Street Painting Festival and giving it its most successful year yet. Who went to the Street Painting Festival last year? I mean, they found out in August. Marianne turned it over in August for the next February. So Lauren and her team, who are relentlessly cheerful and helpful, pulled it together, and it was a wonderful event. And this year it's going to be coming. Sponsorship opportunities are available. Please do what you can. It's a great event. Let's talk about the library. When I would come down here when I was much, much younger, the library was my sanctuary. I would go up to the second floor where all the art history books and all the theater books were, and I would sit up there, and it was cool, and it was lovely, and it's still there. The library was built by citizen funds. It was not built by government funds. It was this town needed a library, and the people chipped in and got it. A few years ago, the county wanted to take us over into their system, and thankfully the commission fought that and did not let that happen because now we have control over the building. If you've not been in the library in the past, let's say 6 months, you got to go. And if you can convince Cindy to give you a tour of the library, it'll be even a much more experienced. Cindy, will you do that? Thank you. Yes, she will. Good. Cindy is very proud of what has happened to the library. And if you go up to the third floor, the Florida room, you'll be amazed at the art up there, the history up there. And she changed what was the children's reading room, which faces Lucerne Avenue, into now a meeting room. And we funded a little kitchenette. And there's a whole other area up there. You can rent it out at ridiculously cheap prices for neighborhood association events, birthdays, weddings, bar mitzvahs. It's an amazing space. And I walked in the other day thinking I was going to find one event, and I found the Sierra Club. We've had neighborhood associations. It's really a wonderful place. You go in, go to the library, take a tour, see what's going on there. The other thing about just not the physical part of the library, but the programs that Cindy and her staff have done with the guidance and support of the whole staff. They now have readings. Kids come in for readings. They have virtual readings during the pandemic. They would have readings that kids could watch online. They have outreach programs into the city. And by the way, the meeting room, we don't have a name for the meeting room, but the meeting room also has, which was graciously donated by a friend of Ronaldo's, a beautiful baby grand piano, who paid himself to have it brought in and tuned. So we have this beautiful little baby piano. So if you have a party and you know somebody that plays the piano, you'll have a great time. Also, Leisure Services through the library has declared Lake Worth a literary city and even invented a board game about Lake Worth Beach. Once again, and here's switching gears. Once again, our casino and beach has been awarded the Wedding Wire Couples Choice Award for the 6th year. So our wedding venue is 6 years gotten the award from a site called Wedding Wire. Congratulations. And I want to read to you from what they said about Lake Worth when they announced this. Quote, and I quote, "Located in central Palm Beach County, Lake Worth Beach is a dynamic, multicultural city with an individualistic style. People are drawn to the city by its acceptance of different cultures and lifestyles, historic districts, hip downtown, and colorful arts district." So that's who we are. And people are recognizing that. If I have never heard, there's a phrase that has been bandied about that makes my skin crawl, which is Lake Worth. I won't say it. We never want to hear that again. Okay? It's Lake Worthy, it's fabulous, and this is who we are. The golf course brought in $1.5 million, and the library received over $88,000 in grants, and the casino is fully booked. Public Works, Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown, there he is. They successfully collected and processed over 40,000 tons of garbage and 2,000 tons of recycling over the past year. That's a lot of garbage. They continued the neighborhood road program and carried on road maintenance with more than 300 tons of asphalt being used. They added 11 alternative fuel vehicles to the city's fleet. And recently, Jamie Brown was named president of the American Public Works Association. We're very proud of that. The water utilities. We have great water. And we want to sell it to people. In the process of completing, we are in the process of completing the final phase of a 16-mile, 2-inch water pipe. Yeah, galvanized steel water main replacement and fire hydrants. In the process of completing the final phase of underground infrastructure in conjunction with the neighborhood road project. They're coordinating when they open the roads for infrastructure and pay. It's a wonderful idea. They rehabilitated water booster station and storage tanks and began replacement of outdated water supply wells. So they keep improving. Even though we've got great water, they're always working. Thank you. The CRA. The CRA. Who's been to the Hatch for an art show or something else? Right? CRA members go there. It's a great building, and it has numerous events and art shows, and lots of community events. I've seen it now in different openings, art shows, little children's art show. Last year I went to this little children's art show, and they were so cute. And I bought a little painting from a little girl. It was this happy little dog holding a balloon, and I bought it for my husband. And I said, "How much do you want?" And she says, "I never sold it." I said, "What kind of, like $20? Was that?" Oh, she said, "That was great." So I was her first purchaser, and it's in our living room tonight. The Day of the Dead Festival. What an amazing festival that is. If you've not attended it, please do next year. So much work goes into it. And the detail and the work that goes into the costumes and the altars and the event itself is phenomenal. And I don't know of any other festival like that. Thank you, CRA, for doing that. They give us the banners on the light poles, as you see, as you drive around town, Christmas, everything. That's from the CRA, and we appreciate it. They also wrap, the utility boxes that you see wrapped so pretty nice now. That's all CRA. They give public infrastructure grants for buildings, the Allura on Lake Avenue. They've given out 28 small business grants over 20 months. They've awarded $460,000 in grants. These CRA dollars then are used to leverage nearly $8 million in construction or development in the town. So somehow Joan and her staff know how to take a little bit of money and make it into a lot, and we appreciate that. Over 100 new jobs were created as a result of those grants. They give commercial facade grants, internal grants. I know some of our new businesses, they come and they get a grant, and it's a reimbursable grant, so it's not like you have to have some skin in the game to do it. And I see a lot of folks in our audience tonight that have benefited from that. And they're working now with the city and the Habitat for Humanity, all the land trust, to address the housing crisis. Again, we can't fix it, but we can address it, and we can do the best that we can. ARPA funds. As a result of the terrible COVID pandemic, the city was awarded $19 million in ARPA funds. Sounds like a lot of money until you start spending it. Right? I'm going to go down, this is so boring, but I'm going to go down the list, and you can always, this will be on the website, just most of it's infrastructure. So we gave $75,000 to paint City Hall. The annex restoration, which is needs a lot of work. It's an old building that's never been taken care of. $2 million, $150,000. A mobility plan, which is something that all the cities are working, the county and state are working on. $150,000. Exterior paint. We're going to paint Fire Station 1. We're going to put windows in the library. We're going to replace the roof at Wembley Gym. We're improving the South Bryant Park playground. And if South Bryant Park, just a couple days ago, the first piece of a new playground was put in as a beautiful train. So if you want to have fun, go down and visit the train at South Bryant Park. The Bryant Park Jetty is getting money for improvements. Sidewalk and ADA projects are getting ARPA money because a lot of they're just not ADA worthy, and they need to be. Thank you. I don't know where that came from, but thank you. Hey, thank you. Beach property improvements, we set aside a little over $1 million for that. That's the pool, the beach. We'll be talking about that in a minute. The casino elevator, which is in bad shape, we're going to upgrade that. Fuel tank replacement, very sexy. The enterprise resource planning replacement. The housing initiative. We set aside $2.5 million of ARPA funds, set aside and earmarked, to match or work with other agencies. We're not going to invent the wheel, and we're going to work with other agencies and see how can we help. We got $750,000 from Lois Frankel. Thank you very much, Ms. Frankel. And we're going to be matching that as at least. The Northwest ball fields uptown, right? In the northwest corner of town, the baseball fields, right? Okay, the lamps are falling down. Okay, the lights up on those high poles are literally falling to the ground. Never were replaced, never were maintained. We have to replace them. We have to replace them if we want to have the ball fields. Well, it was really daunting when we heard that that would be $650,000. But we have to do it if we want those ball fields, so there's some money going there. And we're also replacing the fences around them. Stormwater projects in South Palm Park, Parrot Cove, Eden Park, 16th Avenue North, the West Village Art Lofts are all getting upgrades to the stormwater. We, as we all know, for those of you that live there, sometimes it gets really flooded over on the east side of town, and our golf course gets flooded. So the stormwater outflow addresses that, and it makes it so that once it goes out, it doesn't come back in. So our stormwater projects, and the first thing we did with our ARPA funds to thank our staff is for Christmas a year ago, they each brought home everybody brought home a $2,000 bonus just to show our thanks. So that took care of $19 million. Our departments proudly work as a team, and we face projects together. Rather than like one department or another department, I see a lot of collaboration between the departments, and that's the only way that this can work. And they're going to continue to do that. Some of the CRA projects they've got going now, the Gulfstream Hotel, Herff Jones, the old funeral home on Dixie Highway, which is now a beautiful modern building, the Bohemian, the Canna Restaurant, which we have the ribbon cutting next on the 31st at 4 o'clock, Dunkin' Donuts, which some of us enjoy, Palm Beach, on North Dixie Highway, the Palm Beach Modern Auction House is being redone. It's right next to the Bollywood fashion store, which if you've never been in is a feast for the eyes. I was invited to Ramadan dinners last year, and I went in. I said, well, what does one wear to a Ramadan dinner? And I got some guidance and went in there, and oh my God, the clothes. I mean, you see the Indian, the Bollywood dresses, and when I go in and talk to those people, I can't take my eyes off how beautiful those fabrics are. All right, back to the point. Right next door, there is a modern art auction house opening up, and they say that they're going to be competing with the likes of Sotheby's. So it's going to bring another high-end group into our town. 1000 Lake Avenue. You've heard about 1000 Lake Avenue, the 3-story building right behind the City Hall? Okay, right behind City Hall, there's a 3-story building, and it was for years empty. It was built, it's like 100 years old, and it had many iterations. But now it was bought by a local developer, Bhavin Shah, and he's working with Vanilla Ice. And I have had the pleasure of touring this building. They are completely renovating the building inside and out. They put all new windows in. They couldn't get windows because of COVID, so what he did was he brought the window manufacturer into the building. So they were in there. It was like a factory making the windows. The first floor is going to be a restaurant, microbrewery kind of thing. The second floor, apparently Mr. Ice, he's a wonderful guy. I've met him now a few times. Rob Van Winkle is his name. He lives in Wellington. Apparently, over the years of his career, he has accumulated a number of items like collectibles, rock and roll collectibles. So the second floor is going to be, his plan is that it's going to be kind of a museum of all his Elvis Presley, all the different things that he's collected, and also hopefully be an event place for people to come. His plan is also to have on the third floor a rooftop bar. Right? Let's hope it works. I'm looking at Mr. Waters and saying, is this going to work? I hope so. And he's working with Guy Fieri, who bought a house in Lake Worth, on the restaurant. So we have a little attention. The renovations I just found out today are apparently going to be filmed. He's working with the film office in the county. And he's going to film the whole renovation. They're going to highlight Lake Worth Beach because he just loves our little city. And we're going to be on television. Why not? Lake Worth Station is a development that's going up on 10th Avenue, just east of the railroad tracks. And this was an interesting experience for all of us, because when developers come to us with this is the plan and it checks off all the boxes, by right they can do that. We can't really say you can't do that because we don't like it. But fortunately, the developers there were willing to listen to us, and there were concerns about saving some of the vegetation, about the traffic flow, about how they were using it. And that was in September, and they came back last week, I think it was, with a really much improved plan. And it was really good to see that they were willing to work with us to make it more suitable and compatible with Lake Worth. And the Youth Mentoring Center, 1213 Lake Avenue, it's a 2-story building that somehow the city acquired years ago, and they're getting grants to gut it and make it a mentoring center for kids. Years ago, I'll use that pause to take a drink. Years ago, there was a thing called the Municipal Institute. I don't know if anybody was here for that. I was, Mary was, Erica Whitfield was, right? There were about 25, 30 people. Herman, were you a part of it? All right. Although we have a graduating class. And once a week for about 6 or 8 weeks, we met on like a Thursday night, and we were introduced to the water department, the public works department, the planning department, and then we had pizza. And it was and we went to the actual departments, and it was a really good way to become acquainted with how the city works. It's very easy to criticize. Well, the city should, my least favorite phrase after being mayor for 2 years. The city should. So we found out, we learned a lot. And I would like to do that again, but with time and stuff, I brainstormed with Carmen and with a few other people, and we realized there's perhaps, if not a better way, a different way to do it. So what we're going to do is have a series of videos, as though you were in that class. This is the water department, and have the water department or the clerk's office, whatever, walk us through how the different department works. We'll put it on the website, and it won't be 25 people. It'll be anybody that wants to watch how this department works can see it. I'm excited about this project, and my idea was I'll do the introductions, but the whole bulk of the program will not include me because I won't be mayor forever, and then they won't have to redo all the videos. So I'm excited about that. A city is not just made up of commission and staff. It requires many other groups to work together and make it successful. And this year, I want to recognize some of those groups. If I don't mention your group, please don't be insulted, or I'm doing the best I can. We love our volunteers. We have more than 11 volunteer boards. They are the C-51 Canal Board, the Construction Board of Adjustment and Appeals, the Community Redevelopment Agency, the City Tree Board, the Electric Utility Advisory Board, the Finance Advisory Board, the Historic Resources Preservation Board, the Library Advisory Board, the Planning and Zoning Board, the Recreation Advisory Board, the Education Task Force, and soon the business, our downtown business. So this is people, citizens, giving their time and attention to our city. This is what we need. I implore you, and I'm going to do this more than once tonight. If you're here, if you're listening, or if you're listening out there, you're interested. You have an interest in this city. We need people to volunteer. Always, there are some boards that don't have a quorum. And so I call out to you to take a look at what's available and perhaps come forward. And besides, one of the best things about being mayor and working with the commission and the staff, I've gotten to meet so many great people. I've gotten, like, people in the city is like, if you're my new friend or the friend I haven't met yet, because we have such great people. I'm gonna shout out a few years ago on Facebook, I saw this crazy little thing called the German witch dance. I have to. And it's a 3.5-minute dance. The song is in German, and there's a choreographed little dance to it. 3.5 minutes. And I just thought that would be a fun thing for Lake Worth, because that's who we are, right? Well, last summer, as some of you may know, I had a rough medical summer, and I just did not have the energy to pull it through. I ran into Janet at Ozzy's funeral, and I said, "Can you help me?" And 3 days later, there were 3 ladies sitting, Sylvia, Charlene, and Janet, sitting in my living room saying, "We've got this." By Halloween, and they arranged where to rehearse, how to get the video, how to get the audio done. And by Halloween, we had about 35 witches dancing at Bryant Park in the hall. It was so much fun. Now, witches sounds a little, scary. The dance essentially says, "Have a good time, shake your booty." It's not like and the group, we're going to get together. Now, this is a shout-out. We're going to get together soon in the next 6 weeks or 8 weeks, and we're going to have a potluck at that wonderful library room. And anybody that's interested, and we realize we need to change the name. It really just can't be the Lake Worth Beach Witches Dance. So we're going to have, as part of our potluck, we're going to try to figure out a new name and a way to market ourselves. And we're going to work with Leisure Services to become part of an event of the city. That's what Lake Worth is about. We can come together and do something. Little small libraries, little free libraries. And that's the kind of thing that was the image of one person who just amazingly took it over, and now it's so popular. Volunteers run our museum, and volunteers run our bookstore. If you've not been to the bookstore at the Annex, please go. It's open on the Saturday, I think, and I'm not sure. But beautiful, beautiful books for very low prices, and it supports our literary city. And also this year, some of the departments have made use of interns that learn about government. Again, we want to bring kids into our government to learn more about how we're not this above, you can't get into it. We need to learn that these kids, this is how a city works. It takes a lot of people. I want to welcome the new small businesses that came to town in the last 2 years, and thank those who were here before the pandemic, for sticking with us and staying open and working to help to make our community a vibrant community. It's hard. Being a small business owner is hard these days. There's a lot of struggles, but you hang in there, and we love you for it. This year we've worked closer, talking about different volunteer groups in the town. This year we've worked very closer than ever with Compass to make Lake Worth Beach a friendly and safe home for the LGBTQ community plus community members. This has been a rough time for our LGBTQ plus community, with increasing hostility and violence against the community. Lake Worth stands firm in our commitment to maintaining the city as a safe place where everyone is encouraged to live their best life. Our friends at the Guatemala Mayan Center have continued to make Lake Worth Beach a good home for many of our new residents coming from Guatemala and other places, Central America, South America. They have worked together with staff to help the city better communicate with their community and offer more inclusive events for our Mayan neighbors. These are the folks that come, and we're not going to talk about how legal, whatever, that's not the political. These people come to our city to work hard. You see the buses going out at 6:30 in the morning and coming back at 6:30 at night, and they're working in the fields, and I'm not going to go out there and pick tomatoes. So we need to thank those people for the work that they do. And I have to tell you, I have I'm 207 South L Street. I'm right on L Street, and quite a few families on my street are large Guatemalan families. Their houses look better than mine. They offer to help me out sometimes. Some of our others, and I'm not going to be able to name everybody, but some of the other groups that we have in the town that work are For the Children. Reggie's here tonight, I believe. For the Children, Healthier Lake Worth, Adopt a Family. Go, Sarah. Oh, there you are. Adopt a Family, our little free libraries, Habitat for Humanity. The many houses, we have a lot of churches, we have a lot of houses of worship in our town, and our ministers and pastors are very involved with each other. There's a group, and whenever we have an event, they come and they work with us, and we're very, very happy to have that kind of involvement of our religious community. And those are just a few of the groups that we have. This commission has a great, and I'm so proud of this, a great commitment to the schools. Kim is like I've said, Kim is an educator, and when she came up with the idea of having an education task force, it rang a bell. It's important for our kids to feel included in the city, to realize that they are part of our future, and as such, we have established an education task force with the local schools. And that relationship has resulted in many individual outreach efforts to our kids in need, Christmas dinners, different things that have happened. And our citizens step up and say, okay, you need this, I'll help. I'll help you. And that's a wonderful thing. Public safety organizations, under the guidance of Captain Bear is right back there. PBSO has worked together with your commission, staff, and other community groups to bring community-focused policing to our community. Some of the things that they've done, and I experienced this year, the Christmas toy drive. Guy Fieri donated $5,000 to our kids' Christmas to the PBSO for the toy drive. When you walked, they invited me to just come and see what the day would be like. When you walked into the hallway of the station, each shift had done a little Christmas vignette, a tree and decorations. So as you walked down this hall, which was just plain white police department, it looked like a Christmas fairyland. It was so beautiful. They had, I don't know how many bags of, it was all, they knew what family needed what, and so they were all named, and they were handed out as the different groups came in, and they had a petting zoo. It was really hard for them to get the baby goat out of my arms. My husband was afraid I was going to bring it home. But it was a wonderful thing, and just to see the looks on these families, the kids as they came in, and they got cookies and sweets and stuff, and it was really wonderful. There's been an increase. The PBSO has heard from the residents, we need more involvement in the community, and they've stepped up. They're getting more involved in our community, meeting with different people, different community groups, and becoming involved. And now we have a PAL program, which has been hugely successful. I think it's filled up at this point. There's a waiting list to get in. Thank you. Palm Beach County Fire Rescue. Right? Geraldine, stand up. This is our fire chief. We love her. We are so lucky to have Chief Geraldine. And I always have to shout out because, number one, my brother was a firefighter there, but number two, last summer, he was a good one. My brother put up a sign in the fire station, "Don't be useless." I was like, that's a good one. And last summer, when I had a pulmonary embolism and felt myself dying, it was the Palm Beach County Fire Rescue that came and saved my life, for which I will be forever grateful. We have an amazing system of neighborhood associations. Almost, I think every piece of this city has some neighborhood associations. Some are more active than others, but they're the heart of the city. That's where, and once a month, I think the President's Council meets. Yep, I see the presidents shaking their heads. Yeah, we have to thank them for this. Saturday morning is a hard time to give up, and we have to thank them for doing that and for all the things that the neighborhood association is doing and trying to do. We have the downtown Jewel has the Flalthing. If you've not heard it, in March, I forget the date, 18th, 13th, 18th. Flalthing. Okay, this is our fundraiser because our houses are so small we can't have house tours. 9 yards are converted into a putt-putt golf, like miniature golf hole. And you pick up a card. It's a fundraiser. You pick up a card, and this year it's going to start and end at the street just behind south of Lilo's on K Street. And you go to the different homes and play a hole. And along the way, there are refreshments, some of them adult. We have one year I was just like a stay. I didn't have a hole. It was just like a refreshment stand. That was fun. And we have golf carts. It's all around the neighborhood. So we have golf carts shuttling you around, so you don't have to walk. We supply the golf clubs and the balls, and at the end, somebody gets a green jacket. It's a great fun event. There are house tours. Another thing for those of you that remember the Evening on the Avenues was an amazing event. Wonderful. People came after. It's huge. And people. The city should. My favorite quote. The city should. Right. The amount of energy and devotion and hard work that it took to put that together. And we thank those. Some of those are sitting in the audience today, and we thank them for it. After a while, it went away. I don't even know why, but it did. So I hear tell, that the President's Association is trying to bring back on a test basis a quarterly Evening on the Avenues to get it started back up again. It was a wonderful event. It was down at the Cultural Plaza. There was music and events and stuff to buy. It was great. And it really was a place. I don't have a social life. I live a very private life except for this. So I don't go to parties. I don't have parties. My house is too small. But that kind of thing, that's the great thing about the events that we have downtown. That's where we have our social events. When I go down to, whatever the event is, I know that I can see people that I will know and get to know that are part of the city. And it's really fun to do that. We are our party. We create our own party. Taste of Lake Worth, the Street Painting Festival is coming up, and Friday night, the Street Painting Festival, the night before the Street Painting Festival actually starts, it's called the Taste of Lake Worth, and if you want to buy a ticket, I think they're $25. Buy them now because it gets sold out. What it is, it's a tour of downtown with little bites and drinks and different things at the different restaurants. And again, it's a party in the street. Laker Avenue is closed. So it's really just like a community party. How many events, how many people? 41. We have 41 shops and restaurants involved this year. I say we like I had anything to do with it. Our neighborhood association set that up. Neighborhood associations, the home and garden tours, and the raft race. July 4th, big party, raft race, love it. So again, that's how we party in Lake Worth. For the future. The Commission has taken on some projects and issues that we inherited. Some of them were recent inheritances. The pool, the casino, empty room upstairs, the downtown L&M project. But more of them are just the result of decades of deferred maintenance. We've never been a rich town. We've never had the extra money in the bank to say, let's fix that thing. So they patch, which is why we had to have the bond a few years ago to fix the roads, $40 million bond. We still need more. But we're taking on the L&M project. We just had a vote on it the other night. The pool, we're working on the pool to see what we can do, if we can have the pool back at the beach. Of course, I'm a big proponent of that. I would fill the thing up with water and let's go swimming. That's really how I feel about it right now. Other things, and we hear, every one of us hears, what about this, what about that? We have so many issues to deal with, but here's a couple of the big ones that keep coming up. And like I said at the beginning of our tenure, this commission has gumption. We're going to be addressing the Airbnb issue. Some people are for them, some people are against them. We've got to find a common ground. Accessory dwelling units, granny flats, that's another issue. Some people hate them, some people want them. How do we find a balance? Mobile food vending, food carts. How do we do that? And that's something that we've actually had a workshop and started talking about, how to handle that, how to deal with mobile food things. I'm almost done. Okay, I'm just curious about this. How many of you, and just raise your hand, how many of you have lived here between, let's say, 1 and 5 years? Okay. Between 5 and 10. 10 and 20. More than 20. That's the kind of thing the city, there's new people, that's what's so great. New people find us, they come in. My office is, my law office is right above a real estate office, and I'll see people looking, and I'm always, hi, looking at Lake Worth, and talk to them. And more than once, somebody comes down here on a vacation or they come to visit a relative, and they become so charmed with the city that they end up living and buying a place here. A little harder these days because of the prices of homes, but they are still coming. I want to take a minute just to talk to each one of you about the future. Running for office is hard and exhausting and extremely emotionally draining. It ain't easy. Being an elected official in Hamilton, winning is easy, ruling is harder. Being an elected official is rewarding and challenging. It's a huge commitment of time and energy and interest. I see my husband every few days. He looks good. You folks are here listening, or if you're listening on YouTube, you're interested. You have an interest in the city. I implored a little bit earlier about coming forward to be on boards. I'm doing the same thing for running for mayor, running for office. We're not going to be here now we have term limits. We're definitely not going to be here forever, but we're not going to be here forever anyway. And we've got to think about who's next. And we had a little bit of a history, in our past recent history of people moving into the city and 3 years later they're the mayor and then they move away. So there's a lot of committed people in this city, and it's a lot of hard work, but hopefully what we will leave when we leave office will have enough projects and things going that if we've done a good job, you can carry forward. And I say you, whoever you are out there, that's willing to take the time and the commitment to come and step forward. And it's hard. And people aren't always nice to you, but you can't take it personally, and you got to keep your sense of humor. But I mean this from the bottom of my heart. It took me a long time to step forward. It took these folks time to step forward, and the ability and the willingness to come forward and work like this. But I'm really asking you, look into your hearts to see, can I spend 3 years, 6 years out of my life to really devote it? Mayor especially, because you have a lot of more things that you have to meet with. But each one of them we've got to prepare for our agendas. We've got to talk to staff and find out what's going on and get things explained. We have parades and ribbon cuttings and the fun stuff, but it is a lot of work, and I really ask you to think about coming forward. One thing I want to talk about, one last thing, I swear, is I have a vision. One of the things that I have a vision, I hope that I can somehow start the accomplishment of this. Lake Worth is one of the only cities in Lake Worth in Palm Beach County that has never thought to have an actual city government center, a city hall. The city hall that we have now is the old auditorium. We have room where the fire and police station is now. We could put a city hall there, and we could have the departments. Everything in life is about relationships. Right? You know somebody, you meet somebody, you get to know them. William Waters, who is the head of our planning, community sustainability, is 2.5 miles from the city manager. So if they just want to have a chit-chat, there's no running down the hall and popping your head and saying, could you have a minute? It's all much more formal. So I think that from what I've seen now for the 2 years I've been in office, that this city would work much more efficiently and in a much more cohesive fashion, not that it's not now, but if those relationships could come together and do a city hall. I'm looking into some funding. I don't know anything about it, but I think it's something that we should aspire to, because then what we are currently using as city hall would be an excellent community center for the groups that need, different things. It used to be the city auditorium, and we would have then a city center. And that's just something that I personally, and I hope that I get some support from that, would like to see forward. Thank you. We deserve it. Our city deserves it. So, listen, I just want to thank everybody for taking the time to come to this evening. This is an exciting time for Lake Worth. I mean, when I go out and about, in people are like, oh, Lake Worth Beach, things are different there. Things are changing there, and I'm like, yes, they are, and it's a wonderful thing. It's very exciting to be part of what's happening in Lake Worth now and to be able to contribute, listen to our citizens' input and efforts. And, I hear about they need new painting around South Grade Elementary. We can help do those things. We can help little problems in the city because we are a small city. I want to thank you. I thank for all of us. I thank you for coming tonight, and it's wonderful to be a part of this fabulous little city. I love you all. This is so much fun. It is fun to be part of this city. Thank you very much.
How are you doing?
I'm standing in my right leg. Thank you very much. I try not.